Have you ever had that moment when everything was quiet around you, and yet, inside you, there was a scream that wouldn't stop? It wasn't hunger, or longing, or fear. It was emptiness, a hole in your chest that whispers, "Is this all there is to life?" What if I told you that this emptiness might not be a problem, but an invitation? Today, we're going to talk about purpose. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you've been looking in the wrong place all this time. In youth, they sell us the idea that we'll find our purpose as if it were a precious stone hidden at the bottom of the sea. As if one day everything would magically make sense. But what nobody talks about is the frustration of those waiting for this moment, and it never comes. Time passes, and you start wondering if something's wrong with you. As if you were forgotten in the line of the chosen ones. The truth is that most people don't feel a clear purpose, and that's not failure, it's humanity. A study led by Kendall Bronk, psychologist at Claremont Graduate University, showed that only 20% of American young adults have a clear sense of purpose. The other 80%? They're trying to survive, searching for some reason to continue. This doesn't make you less worthy, just more real. And this is where the silent pain begins. Life becomes a sequence of mechanically fulfilled tasks: wake up, work, smile, post, sleep. Everything seems right on the outside, but inside everything is out of place. And worst of all, you blame yourself for it. After all, you have everything to be happy, right? But happiness without meaning becomes anesthesia. You laugh, but don't feel. Some people try to fill this hole with goals, with success, with travel, with titles. But the soul isn't fed by results. It wants meaning. It wants to know there's a why. And when that why doesn't appear, existential fatigue emerges, silent anxiety, soul burnout, a non-clinical term, but absolutely real for those who have felt the exhaustion of living without direction. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, wrote in his book Man's Search for Meaning, "Life is potentially meaningful under any circumstances, even the most miserable ones." Frankl discovered that purpose isn't a prize. It's a survival mechanism. People who had a why resisted barbarity. People who didn't silently surrendered to death. Now answer me honestly, what keeps you alive when everything is falling apart? Because that's where purpose begins to form, not on beautiful days, but on the ones you survived in pieces. Not on life's stage, but backstage, in the dark, in silence. Purpose is born from what you can't abandon, even when everything asks you to give up. But we live in a culture that demands performance even in purpose. Live your passion. Monetize what you love. Discover your calling. This pressure can be suffocating. The search becomes an obligation. And suddenly, what was supposed to give you meaning starts making you sick. Psychologist Emily Esfahani Smith warns in her TED Talk that pursuing constant happiness can be toxic, and what we really need is meaning, not just pleasure. And meaning doesn't come from ready-made answers. It comes from deep questions. Questions like, what truly moves me? What outrages me to the point I want to change it? What would I do even if nobody saw or praised me? That's where something true begins. Your purpose might be hidden in the pain you've lived through and transformed. In something that hurt you, but that you refuse to let hurt others. It's common for trauma survivors to become caregivers, mentors, transformers, as if their pain, recycled, becomes a map for others. Don't romanticize this. You don't need to suffer to have purpose. But if you have suffered, know this: it can give you depth. A 2019 study from the University of Oregon showed that adverse experiences, when well processed, expand the sense of life's meaning. Pain isn't the enemy of purpose. It can be its seed. But there are also days when pain is just pain, and that's okay. You don't need to immediately turn it into a lesson. Sometimes today's purpose is simply getting out of bed, taking a shower, breathing, and tomorrow perhaps listening to someone with presence. That's already purpose in action. In fact, purposes change. What made sense at 17 might not make sense at 30, and that's okay, because you've changed too. You don't need to have one great final purpose like an existential trophy. You can have several seasonal alive ones. Purpose is more compass than destination. And if you haven't felt any of this yet, stop looking out there. Purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. Sometimes it comes in a look, in a sincere thank you, in a small project nobody sees, in a silent hug that saves a bad day. Purpose is intimate, it's invisible, it's yours. Want a practical tip? Write down all the things you hate seeing in the world, then write down all the times someone truly thanked you. Where these two lists intersect, something sacred exists, something that connects you with the world and with yourself. Don't wait for certainty. The world is collapsing, and yet you insist on searching for meaning. That's beautiful, that's courage. And maybe, just maybe, that's already your purpose today, to keep trying. If this video touched something inside you, comment below. I'm still searching, but I haven't given up. Maybe someone else will read it and feel less alone in this search. And share this video with someone who is also silent inside. Sometimes a single phrase can rekindle what was extinguished.